We can start. So everyone, good evening. It's a great pleasure for me to be meeting all of you. It's an honor, a pleasure. And I say it's a pleasure because one is I get to, one of my joys is to be able to share with people ideas, knowledge, and listen to new ideas and knowledge. The other is seeing all of you again, at least once a week. And Franska, this is the third time this weekend.
Three times.
So it is a real pleasure, and especially during this MCO period, then you begin to truly appreciate that this pleasure of meeting people. And for some people, they take it for granted. They go to work, they complain about the boss, about the friends and all that. However, not being able to interact with other human beings somehow affect us. So at least interacting with all of you on screen pun jadilah. So again,
Yeah, it
welcome.
can be a bit depressing, not
Hmm.
to have outside connection and talking. Especially for me, I have this Ali at home,
Mm-hmm.
so and my husband.
Mm-hmm.
That one you try to talk less as possible. Betul. Anyway, okay. Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, but I'm very
No.
happy to be here too.
Yeah. No. No problems. No interruption. It's uh, we are familiar with one another. We are friends and colleagues in that sense. So at any time you have anything to say, go ahead. So let's begin with this, the topic for this particular session. Since all of you are familiar with this session, I will just go into deep dive into the topic that we are discussing this evening. It is on the attitude and spirit for questioning excellence. Why we are discussing this topic again? Uh, a reminder to all of us that the reason why we are talking about this is about increasing or improving our skills in coaching. And in coaching, our primary tool is questioning. And I remember Michael mentioned that when he was modeling Michelle with respect to coaching, what do coaches do? And sorry, they, Michael and Michelle were modeling another master coach, and Michael took the task of writing down how many statements the coach does, and Michelle undertake the task of writing down how many questions that the coach asked during the session. And at the end of the session, Michael's list was zero. There were no statements made by the coach, only questions, because it is through questions that we get to understand our clients. Now, the question is, what makes the difference in order for us to ask question, to be able to get at the core of what are the meanings in a person's mind. So what makes the difference? What transforms a question that simply asks a question, or worse, that uses a question as a technique or gimmick? Because you can ask questions at the same time, does that question create insights or get a person to look for additional meaning? And yesterday I was having a conversation with a master coach in the area of developmental coaching by the name of Dr. Shakir. And I had a coaching conversation with him uh, many, I think close to a year ago. He was the coach, I was the client. So, and the question that he asked me was simple question. However, it was so meaningful to me. And the reason why it was meaningful, it was not just any run of the mill question. Simple question. He asked me, so what makes you happy? Simple question. However, in that particular moment, it just hit me because when I do things, my principle is if I have to do something, might as well be happy doing it. So I find that when I do things, I'm happy doing things. It's okay. It's just that when you ask that question, what makes you happy? It stunned me at that particular point in time and gave me that deep realization. So you can ask lots and lots of questions, and maybe with your friends, you have discussions with them. They ask questions, and you just blithely answer to them. However, what coaches do is they want to ask the question that creates the difference. So what makes the difference? Now, the difference is the attitude or state, our state of mind and emotion as the questioner, because it takes a very special attitude to ask questions. It is the relationship that drives the question. In communication, the importance of gaining rapport, attentively listening, being present to the other, and of relating in a personal way. So when we are in that process of communicating and having that conversation, we want to be at all times in the state of rapport. So to be asking from the state of rapport, it requires the right kind of question, because a missed question can cause you to go out of rapport. The moment you go out of rapport, then you have to rebuild it. So we need to have that attitude that will allow us to ask question that causes the person to go in and explore rather than put up their defenses. So what is that attitude? So in this particular segment, Michael mentioned the word, the magical attitude. Yeah? Because the power of questioning arises from the combination of engaging, probing, and eliciting questions, and the right attitude that creates rapport, trust, interest, engagement, care, heart, and even love. Because if you don't have that rapport, trust, interest, then that probing question can become like an interrogation, and it breaks rapport. So that's why to be able to be in balance, to be in balance of being totally curious, to probe, at the same time maintaining that rapport through that spirit of caring and wanting to know more. So in order to have this magical attitude, so two things that we as a coach needs to have. One is we need to know the specific variables that make up that attitude. So what are the variables? The non-verbal communication, the verbal communication that we are making. So what are the variables that will allow us to access that particular magical attitude? And the second one is we need to know how to cultivate it in ourselves, because the verbal is the mechanical, sorry, the variables are the mechanical part. The other is the state itself. So what are the states that we need to be in? Because even if we know the variables, we don't know the states, then it becomes very mechanical, very contrived, and the client will sense that. The client gets from us the state that we are in. So what is the best attitude for questioning as a coach? What are the factors or variables that make our attitude magical? And how can we cultivate those qualities in our questioning skills? So these three questions are what we are going to be discussing this evening. Yeah. So let's take a look for the first point over here with respect to the attitude that we want to have. One is that it all begins with a simple attitude of curiosity. I'd like you to imagine or remember those times when you were super curious, especially with things that you are experiencing for the first time. I mean, Bonnie, when you first had Alia, were you not curious to know what kind of girl do you have in this bundle? Yeah.
Uh, not not so much of what I'm about that, but more like curious about the milk she would drink, or the food she would eat.
Yes.
Um, how do we feed her things that she wants?
Mhm.
So it's those kind of curious rather than um like a, but they always do things that make you feel happy. I think
Mhm.
they're antics. I would say they're antics.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, but they are very curious.
Oh, yes.
So they are very curious. They are
They
very curious.
are.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is also something that, in my case, helped me to get into that state of curiosity, because I've been modeling little children for more than 20 years. I've been modeling them, and I realized that they have that kind of curiosity, so that when I go into that mindset of little children, I can get into that space of curiosity. So this is the
No,
first one.
no wonder, Marzuki, you always like that. Even like Alia, as we are talking now, she is even curious about a little bit of ice cream in the bowl and how the liquid is turning around in the bowl. She keeps turning the spoon, and just that's a curiosity, right?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. She
yes.
just keeps turning.
So, so that you can use her as your model to how to be curious. Okay, so this is the first one. It all begins with a simple attitude of curiosity. To think about, to remember the time that you were super curious about something, and remember the feeling of anticipation, expectation that something extraordinary was about to occur. Curiosity is the open-minded attitude of wonder. It is the questioning state. This is the state for questioning, curiosity. So that's why somebody like Alia never runs out of questions. Little children never runs out of questions, because they are always in the state of curiosity. Yeah. Now, the opposite, and this is where many adults we fall into this trap. The opposite is the attitude of being tired, being bored with life, with ourselves, or with others around us. Now, this attitude of being tired, being bored, this grows from the deadening of dreams and visions. Our Somehow we have learned to allow our dreams and vision die. It comes from assuming a know-it-all attitude, from ever playing the role of the expert. That's another important scenario there. From the need to be right and never wrong, from from failing to nurture passion in other parts of life. And that is why you want to keep healthy a healthy repertoire of interests in your life. Because if you are single track, single minded about things, then you get into that state of everything being dull, everything being bored. So when you have a healthy repertoire of things like, okay, in terms of exercising, I walk, I don't run now because my sensei warned me against running, so I cycle. So mixing things, reading different things, reading about psychology, reading about not so much about politics. I don't now I put it aside. Reading about technology. So reading wide and diverse things. This allows us to be more and more curious about things. Okay, so this is also something that we need to be very careful about, and I have been very careful about this aspect of this expert mindset, especially when we commit ourselves to learning something, to gain expertise in something, and as we gain more and more expertise, we need to be careful about this expert know everything attitude. Because if we fall into the trap of the expert know everything attitude, then everything becomes dull, becomes boring. So that's why just a couple of days ago, I was thinking, I think I want to look for an NLP trainer who has just become a trainer, and I want to learn from that guy. Because that guy has just learned it, and maybe looking at NLP with fresh eyes that I may have missed, because I'm looking from the eyes of somebody who's already experienced, and I may fall into the trap of Mr. Know It All. So this is also another area that we want to be careful about, right? So curiosity enables us to deliver powerful questions, because our fascination with the client's world, with the possibilities before him or before her, and with the wonder of what will emerge in the process. So when we are consumed, so to speak, with the fascination about the client, it infuses life and energy and vitality into the question. Have you been asked a rhetorical question? Somebody asks you the question, and you know the person already has an answer behind it. Notice, notice how you feel. However, when somebody asks you with total curiosity about something, you feel that urge to answer. Okay, and that's what little children do. And the reason why many adults, they feel what's the word? They feel threatened by questions that children ask, because the adult is trying to take on the role of I'm the expert. And the reason why they feel threatened is, what if this child asks me a question I don't know how to answer? So one of the things that I really learned from I would consider one of my mentors, is that be willing and ready to answer, I don't know, when you don't know. Yeah. So this is what makes you curious. This is the first, I would say, the first point when it comes to being able to ask questions that will give you the answers, is first start with this curious fascination. And what is this curiosity about? It's about the client. It's about the client. So wanting to know what's going on in the client's mind, what are the potentials that are inside there, and what will be the client's future going forward. So having that curious fascination. Okay, so anyone would like to comment or questions? Go ahead. Yes, Hashim. You are still muted.
I
Yeah.
see myself on the left, right on the left. So I start on the left. When you talk about curiosity, and I remember curiosity is the cat. And these few days, 2, 3 cats come into my house compound. So I always meow meow to the cat, and it was curious. I know the cat was curious to find whether there's food in Hashim's place, or so. So I mean, it's very timely that I joined in this meeting, because I just got a request by one company. They all staple up, because they are going to be audited sometime month's time, and this is the first ever time that they want to do online coaching.
Okay.
So
Okay.
as you were saying just now, if I come to them with the I know all, then that's it.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Ashin. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, Kimi, thank you for joining us. There's a nice picture that you've got there.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. It's
Yeah.
a compliment to me.
So we've just discussing the first point with respect to the topic for this evening, which is the attitude and spirit for questioning excellence. So the first point is to be in the right attitude, and to get in this magical attitude, we want to first be curious about the client. Only
Okay.
then we'll be able to ask questions that are meaningful to the client and also meaningful to us as the coach. So it is not just any questions, because once we are curious and we begin exploring, so those questions are the questions that make a difference for the client. Okay, so moving on to the second point. The first point just now was to be in the state of curiosity. The second point is the know nothing state. So when I am coaching someone, I need to take out all of my assumptions about people, about the client that I already have. I may have assumptions about the client, and especially if you, for example, in this line, in this coaching line, we learn about the psychologists behind human being. So I need to take all of those out, get into the know nothing state about the client. So if I were to be coaching you, Kimi, I need to take out all of what I know about you and get into that know nothing state, that I know nothing about this person. And the only way for me to know you is to ask questions. Because when we are curious in a simple childlike way, we ask the best questions. So pretend that you are a child for a moment, and you have yet to fill your mind with all the knowledge that you now possess. The innocence of the state, the honesty of our curiosity, we get by asking them. It's our authenticity that makes the questions real. So, along with curiosity, this state, this know nothing state, enables us to ask the most innocent, naive, and dumb questions. Yeah? And I would say naive. For example, I mentioned to you, I was being coached by Dr. Shakir. The question of, so what makes you happy? That's a truly naive question. And because of the naivety of that question, it allows me to just travel up into my intentions, into my values, to be able to know what's important for me in that particular context. Okay, so asking questions like, what is this? Otherwise, I will interpret with my map. So to be so naive, asking the question of, so what is this? Is that what you really want? Do you hear what you're saying? How will that affect your vision and dreams? Who says you have to do it this way? Where do you get these ideas? So it is not about interrogating, it is about finding the source. Where do they base what they are saying from? To be able to be clear about the sources of what are coming out from their mouth. So just to be naive, asking the question. I don't know how many of you have ever watched that TV series. It was very popular in the, I think it was about in the 70s, 80s. Lieutenant Colombo, the TV series Colombo. Ashim, you remember the TV series? Okay. And I'm looking around here. Maybe you guys are too young to know that. Franska, definitely lah. You've not seen that. I think Kimi, maybe you've not seen the TV series. Lieutenant Colombo, he's a police inspector and typically involved in homicide cases. And he goes around asking questions when there's a homicide or crime. He asks questions in order to get the information. And he always dressed very sloppy. And he looks as if he's very incompetent. And he asked the most naive and dumb questions. And it is those naive and dumb questions that help him catch uh, the criminal. Okay, so to asking question like, oh, I forgot about that. What is it that you say that you were doing at that time? So that kind of curiosity, that kind of naivety. And as a coach, when you have that naivety, that allows the client to go into their map of the world and bring out the information that is inside there. So asking from the know-nothing state enables us to put aside our assumptions, the blinding paradigms that we have, the self-fulfilling beliefs, the deluding filters, so that we can freshly think outside of the box. So that's the know-nothing state. So 2 points that we've already discussed this evening in order to help us to get into the right attitude and spirit for questioning excellence. The first point was to have a curious fascination. And the second point is the know nothing state. So any questions or comments that you would like to make? And I'd like to welcome on the screen, I have Mark. So is that Mark or is that Marilyn? Oh, it's Deidre. Okay. Good to have you here, Deidre. Yes. Yes. In between getting the children to bed. So definitely you do not show video there. Okay, so thank you for being here, Deidre. So anyone else would like to make comments? So two things, curiosity and know nothing state. Usually your sign in name is Max. So that's why I'm a little bit confused. Huh? Mark? Yeah, so are you good with that?
So much.
Yes.
So meaning to say, what you're saying just now is, I noticed and observed during my younger days, some of the trainers, they come with the, thou shall follow what I say. Is it what you are trying to highlight on the second point here?
Yeah. So that is also the reason why the word that I want to use is the reason why traditional, I think I'll use that word, why traditional trainers have difficulty in building rapport and have difficulty in creating engagement with the trainees is that they come in from the state of I know it all and you don't know, so you better listen to me. And that is the one that's preventing people from developing that rapport. And that is also the reason why people do not want to answer questions, because when you ask question from a know-it-all state, so the person hearing that question is unwilling to answer because What if I give the wrong answer? If I give the wrong answer, then I get scolded for it. So that is why in those kind of environment, people, uh, you notice that in those kind of environment, people just keep quiet. Yeah. So, and those kind of trainers, I would say the traditional kind of trainers, they do not even want to listen to what other people have to tell. Most recently, when I say most recently, there was about a couple of days ago, I watched this movie on Netflix. It's called The Man Who Could See Infinity. Any one of you watched that movie? It's based on the life story of Ramunajan. Ramunajan, yes, Ramunajan. Uh, Dr. Anwar, yeah, you have heard of that name. Ramunajan, uh, he he came to the notice of human beings around 19 at the turn of the 19th century. Sorry, at the turn of the 20th century. He lived from 1890 something to about 1920 something. So he he he's a master. I would probably use the word savant in the case of Ramanujan in the area of mathematics. He learned mathematics just by observing the universe. Didn't He was not formally schooled in mathematics. Did not have a degree in mathematics. Did not have masters in mathematics. However, he was able to figure it out. And in one of the census, because he was invited to go to Cambridge because of what he wrote. He was invited to go to Cambridge, and ultimately he was inducted to be a fellow in mathematics. Now, in one of the census, Ramunujan, he was asked by his professor to at least attend class. He went to Cambridge to work on the project on his mathematical ideas, but just to appease the other lecturers, he was asked to attend mathematical a math class. So the teacher, the professor who was supposed to teach him, asked him a mathematical question, and him being, like an excited student, he answered the question correctly, and he was scolded for it. Because as far as the professor is concerned, you are not supposed to know this. You are stupid. You are not yet supposed to know this. How do you know the answer? And he was scolded for it. And the professor banned him from attending class. Yeah. So these ways of thinking will prevent us from asking questions because we already know the answer. So why ask any more questions? So that's why to get into that state of know nothing. And for me, it's very easy to get into that state of know nothing because you are you. I am not you. Therefore, I don't know. I don't know. So to not make assumptions, to let go of all of them, that know nothing state. And how I practice that, I practice it with my little grandchildren. 10 of them. Every one of them are so different. So I cannot assume. Things like grasshopper, everything is funny for her. And when it comes to her brother, Pocoyo, everything is serious with him. Hi, Didri. Good to see you. Yeah. So, any questions with respect to this know nothing state? So the only thing that I bring with me into the coaching conversation is my skills in the structure of questioning. That's the only thing that I bring. So I don't bring any assumptions about people into the coaching, what do you call coaching conversation. Okay. So let's move to the next point, which is honoring the sacred in the client. So that's another state that when you go into that state that the client is a sacred being and I'm going to honor this person in front of me. How privileged do you feel when people unveil their greatest dreams and most secret desires to you? So think about that for a moment. How special is this relationship? As you hear the most hidden fears that people have, the fears that holds them back from being their most magnificent selves. How do you think and feel about this honor, this privilege? Because as a coach, that's what you'll experience. Your client will open up to you with thoughts, with words that describe things that they don't tell others. Things that even if they have partners, they have husbands or wife, they don't even tell their husband or wife. But as a coach, they reveal that to you. So do you not take that as an honor that you are privileged for them to share those with you? So that's another state that I go into because this client is honoring me with this information. This is the third one. Yeah, the first one was that curiosity. Second one is the know nothing state, and the third one is to honor the sacred in the client. Any questions or comments? Welcome back, Bonnie.
Thank you.
So are you good with that? Okay, then let's move to the next point that will put us into the attitude and spirit to be able to question in an excellent way. The next point is having the courage to boldly ask what no one has asked before. So when you add together the three previous qualities that we mentioned earlier, when you add together the qualities of curious fascination, know nothing state, honor the sacred in the client, you take those three as your ingredients, you mix them, and then you bake them in the oven with human compassion and passion. You get ruthless compassion. That's the word that Graham Richardson used to describe. Ruthless compassion, meaning to say you are utterly compassionate with your client to the extent that you will not prevent yourself from asking the questions that will bring the client to greater heights. So you will not reserve any question. You just ask and ask and ask because you know that by asking question, it will bring your client to greater heights. So ruthless compassion, as Graham Richardson calls it, is about being loving and caring enough with a person to ask questions that get to the truth and the heart of things without flinching, even though at that point in time the client is very uncomfortable. Because yes, especially when you get to the heart of the matter, it's very uncomfortable because sometimes people create barriers between them and the truth that they need to see. And when they create those barriers, they cannot see the truth that should be helping them. So having the compassion in a ruthless manner to ask question, even though it's not comfortable to them, but you know that that question is what they need to hear in order to go there. And this facilitates in the client the development of ego strength to face reality in its own terms. We will robustly, deliberately not avoid the very issues that have to be addressed as we provoke the person to higher levels of success. A wimpy conversation is what most people have normally, because when the conversation goes to areas where it becomes awkward, it becomes uncomfortable, most people just back off. That's wimpy, because by backing off, you are preventing the client from arriving at the place where they can make a difference in their lives. So where does such boldness come from? It comes from the realization that we grow, stretch, and become more comfortable of evolving to the next level when we face reality and encounter its truth, even when we don't like that truth. But it is the truth and the reality that will allow us to go to the next level. It comes from the realization that the client, in all of his or her life, has conspired mostly to defend against the truth. Yet such protection cuddles and weakens one's resolve and personal strength. It disempowers. And sometimes we as parents disempower our children by protecting them from the truth. We create an island whereby we sometimes parents they protect their children from knowing their own incompetencies. When they are incompetent in doing something, parents do not show how to increase the incompetence, but just tell the child that, oh, you are so good. Because the parents don't have the skill of giving feedback. Yeah. So this is where we are coming from. Transformation for vitality in life comes from having such truths in our own life through fierce conversations, which help us to discover the white hot center of some truth. So, what truths are you preventing yourself from seeing that is preventing you from going further? Because it is the truth that is going to bring you to the next level. It is the truth that in terms of competency, I'm still at level 1. So I need to know that, because if I know I'm at level 1, then I will know what it takes for me to get to level 2. But if I'm at level 1, people are saying that, oh, I'm already at level 4, then I will not be moving forward. Okay? So this is where that boldness comes. It comes from that compassion that we have for the client, that we will not hold any truth from them, because they need to see the truth, because the truth will liberate them and make them better. Okay, so that's the fourth point. Yeah, there's a fourth point in how to create that state, that attitude that will allow us to question. So, comments or questions?
I think what you just mentioned strikes me over the last 2 weeks that you mentioned. Sometimes people end up themselves going or not accepting the reality. I think this is something like there's a corollary to this. That the reality in the world is such, but the mind, the mental map is they carry with that mental map.
Mm.
So that is where I think that courage to speak up, or as I was sharing this afternoon, do not sweep problems under the carpet.
Mm. Mm.
Is that
Exactly.
the corollary to that?
Yes, yes. I mean, if you don't have enough compassion for the client, you let the client sweep the uh, sweep the rubbish under the carpet. So this is what Graham Richardson is referring to: ruthless compassion. Your your question may appear to be ruthless because uh, you don't let them squirm their way out of it. However, it is driven by compassion. As I was mentioning this point, I remember an incident during my um, meta coach training uh, uh, program. I was having a coaching conversation with one of my colleagues, and in that conversation, she was so what we did in our practice session, we need to come up with an issue that we're working on, and then another of our friends will coach us on that. So it was my turn to coach this person. So she chose the topic of stopping smoking. Yeah. So I was having that conversation with her. So she said that she wants to stop smoking, and I begin to explore that. And as we explore that, so we came down to identifying the reasons for doing it. And she saw that and making that decision. And then I asked her the question, so when do you want to stop smoking? And she thought about it when I go back to Switzerland. So that will be in 2 weeks' time. So this is where I failed in this particular bit, and that's why I'm telling to you right now. Yeah, because when she said that, uh, I'll stop smoking when I get back to Switzerland, and I said okay. So when you get back to Switzerland, and I went through the process, and right after that, my coach was observing the question, gave me the feedback. So what when the coach gave me the feedback through the questioning process, I realized that I did not ask her the tough question. When my client said that I'm going to stop smoking when I get back to Switzerland, the tough question here, the ruthless, compassionate question, it should be, what's stopping you from quitting now? However, I realized that probably what's stopping me from asking that question was, if I were to ask that question, it is confrontational. And I felt uncomfortable with being confrontational. I realized that because I felt uncomfortable with being confrontational, I was allowing her to give excuses for herself. And that's not in her best interest. Yeah. So this is what we are referring to, ruthless compassion. Because when I ask the tough question, I'm also being challenged. As a coach, I'm also being challenged. Because when I ask the challenging question, I can also be uncomfortable. So the question that I need to ask myself, am I ready to be uncomfortable for the sake of the client's growth? Am I committed enough to the client's growth for me to go through my own personal discomfort? Does that make sense to you? So this is what we are referring to hold their feet to the fire. Okay, right. So that's that point on being, yeah, thank you, Bonnie. It's hard. It's hard. And that is why I remember that even though that happened more than 10 years ago, it happened 10 years ago. And I still remember that because I did not, because that question, what's stopping you from quitting now? That question would have been the pivotal question in her intention to stop smoking. Yeah. Because
Mas,
all this
one
while,
question.
yes.
When you said the persons try to avoid confrontational situation, sometimes in teaching environment there are some confrontational methods that arise, and especially for a coach who come from that confrontational state, then things can get from bad to worse. And I remember one word that orang Melayu kata ni, dia kena approach that dengan hati kering.
Yeah, this is where I think this is the reason why Graham Richardson used the terminology that appears to be contradictory, but he used the word ruthless compassion. So confrontational need not be harsh. It's a compassionate, loving confrontation. Because what we are doing is we are bringing the client to confront their own beliefs, to confront their own limitations. Because if they don't confront it, they will not go over it. They will not overcome that. So it's just like bringing them to the doorway of change, and we are not asking them to go through that doorway. So when they come to the door, we stop them from going through that door. So compassion here refers to get them to go through that door, even though the moment, the instance of going through that door may be painful, may be uncomfortable for them because they have to confront their fears. However, by confronting their fears, they emerge stronger and better. Yeah. So that's what probably Graham Richardson refers to ruthless compassion. Because at that particular point, it appears as if I'm being ruthless, hati kering. It appears as if hati kering lah. However, that hati kering tu sebab apa orang kata niat baik. We have their best interest at heart. And when I give that analogy, what comes also to mind is this concept in this concept started off in mechanics, actually, the concept of perturbation. Perturbation is when something, when compounds or elements are put under tremendous pressure and stress, a high temperature, high pressure, it goes through a transformative process that it will emerge into a structure that is much stronger and better than it was before. However, the transformational process is of high intensity, temperature, and pressure. A good example is you take coal. Coal put under high intensity, temperature, and pressure. After millions of years, they turn into diamond. It will never revert back to coal. However, the structure of diamond is so much more superior to the structure of coal. So that is the process of perturbation. So when you ask the ruthless, compassionate question, you are encouraging the client to go through this perturbative process. They become perturbed. They become perturbed is they become what's another word for perturbed? They get upset. They get uncomfortable. It becomes chaotic. So at that particular point in time, it becomes chaotic for them. It's perturbative for them. However, if you were to release that pressure, they come back and become what they were before. For example, coal under tremendous temperature and pressure, and then you release that temperature and pressure, you dig it out of the ground, you get coal. However, you leave it in the ground where it was, more pressure, more temperature, they turn into diamonds. Yeah, so the role of the coach is to have enough compassion, because you can see what the client can become when you hold that pressure for the client, creating that safe, supportive environment, creating that crucible for the client to change from coal to diamond. So to be able to have that perspective, that I am asking this question because I can see the diamond on the other side. You need to go through this perturbative process in order to become that diamond. So that's why I will hold this pressure for you through that question. Make sense? Okay. So the final point over here, to help you to get into this attitude and spirit for questioning excellence, is being totally present in the moment. So this is the final point. Yeah, being fully in the moment is a rare and unprecedented gift, a wonderful gift, because we can use memory to travel back in time, and we can use our imagination to go forward in time. However, in reality, we only have this moment. And how we get them and us to be in this moment is we need to be in this moment. So the questions that we ask when we are being totally present and in the moment, the questions that we ask will invite and facilitate the experience of the moment. And those questions will teach, will train, influence, and provoke the client to the point whereby they will make that change. Being present in the moment. I, as a coach, I need to be in the moment so that I can hold the client in the moment. Otherwise, they might travel back in the past to regret whatever that they have done, or they may go into the future to be too fantasizing about what's going to happen. However, they can only take action in the moment. So I, as the coach, needs to be in the moment. Okay.
So, Mark, when you mentioned about this present and the moment, this is quite a tough thing for most people, because the swing between the moods, resourceful, unresourceful, fear and anger and anxiety and so on. I think I remember well. You quoted the moment by moment. Repo is moment by moment.
Yes.
It can be very good years back, yesterday, but at that particular moment, it can be something else.
Yes.
And that's tough.
And Kimi and I, we were having offline discussion about meditation, and knowing how to meditate. Meditation to me is about being in the moment, because our mind frequently goes back and forth. It goes into the future, goes into the past. Frequently, we are distracted by the past and the future about what's happening in the moment. So learning the skill of meditating so that you can be here and now, that is useful, to be in the moment. Kimi, any comments? You're not
Uh,
back.
yeah, I'm back now.
Yes.
Yes, I do. Recently I had a what you call that? Some so-called revelation moments due to the fact that things are happening with my work, and then with the health condition that I'm getting in. So I come to realize that I miss out the main thing in NSLMP, which is the meditation. Hence, that's the reason I asked Mr. Mazuki regarding to the meditation, and then we had a relatively long chat. And then I discovered that when I meditate, when the instruction, the so-called the audio give the instruction for us to release all the thought, just be in the moment and things like that. I do realize that that was something is missing from my life. And then I gradually increased the meditation period from 5 minutes. First at 3 minutes, I'm struggling to get away all the thought, and then keeping up from three to five to 10, and up to 15, and up to 30. And I do realize that at certain point of meditation, in the I just need 10 minutes time just to fall asleep.
Mm.
Whether it's good or not, I'm not so sure about that. But perhaps it's just another way for me to get asleep due to the pressure in the workplace. And yeah, it's a good thing to know that meditation do or does really work. At least for me, where I can decrease my uh, heart heart rate per minute up to 30%, which
Mm.
is something that I really enjoy doing it.
Mm.
And from there on, I see that the benefits are really got into me. And nowadays, as a matter of fact, you mentioned about meditation. I just came back from the office this afternoon, and I took a LRT. I managed to so-called meditate, or to just to quiet my mind in the LRT for at least for 10 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. And my heart rate pressure dropped around 3%, which is I really happy about it. So
Mm.
it works. It worked for me. I believe it worked for Mr. Bazuki. It works for everybody. That's for my point, my experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimi.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So this is about being in the present. What creates anxiety, what creates stress is either you go into the past and feeling guilty, feeling depressed about what happened in the past, or going into the future feeling anxious that the future that you want will not happen. So either way, you are creating stress. So coming into the present, to be noticing where you are right now, that will give you the locus of control, because control is in the now. You can only take action in the now. You don't take action in the future. The future has yet to come. You cannot take action in the past because the past is gone. You can only take action in the now. So to be back in the here and now. So when it comes to coaching, to be totally in the present moment with the client. I know nothing about the clients, need, therefore I am curious to know about the client, and I want to help the client get the best out of this conversation. So be here and now. I'm not thinking about my strategies of uh, what I'm going to ask next, and what am I going to ask next. So I'm not thinking about all of those. I'm in the here and now, just listening to what the client is explaining to me, and that is what's most important right now. So it is not about thinking about the strategies. The strategies will be revealed by the client, him or herself. So being in the moment. Okay, so that's the final point. So what we've discussed this evening, to get the magical attitude for questioning. The first one is having a curious fascination. The second is the know nothing state. The third is honoring the sacred in the client. The fourth one is having the courage to boldly ask what no one has asked before. And the fifth one just now is being in the moment. So these five items, these five things will allow us to be asking the right question at the right time, in the right way with the clients that we have in front of us. So those will give us the ability to ask questions that will create the greatest change and growth in the client. So any questions that you may want to ask right now with respect to that last point about being present? Okay, so let me just wrap up with some summaries over here. A couple of points to summarize. First point is that the key variables that make up a powerful coaching attitude includes a curious fascination, a know-nothing innocence, a willingness to discover, an honoring of the sacred, the courage to boldly ask what no one has asked before, and being totally present in the moment and truly caring for the client. The second one is that at the heart of coaching is questioning. A coach who doesn't know the magical power of questioning has not yet entered into this field of coaching, but is still giving advice, consulting, training, doing therapy, or even entertaining. Those are not coaching. And the third point to summarize is to develop a questioning attitude. First, set that as your goal. Your goal in this conversation is to ask questions to reveal, and then access each of the critical states as the space that you come from, the state of know nothing, the state of curiosity, the state of um, honoring the sacred, the state of courage to ask questions, the state of being in the present moment, and the state of truly caring. Then monitor your progress as you ask questions and notice the responses that you get. And that will allow you to get to the heart of the matter for the client, because getting the heart of the matter for the client is what will give that client that pivotal element for the greatest change and growth and transformation in their lives. Okay, so I think that's what I will summarize for this evening. So I'd like to just go around with everyone to ask you about if you have any other questions, or you would like to comment on something. So I'm going to start with the bottom of my screen. Bonnie, you have any questions or comments?
Uh, do you coach friends, or that's something to stay away from? That's my question actually. Should we coach our friends, or should we stay clear of that, because that relationship can get messy quite fast, right?
It depends. It depends. Depends whether it depends on both in the sense that if your friend is coachable, then you can. And also, do you have enough presence to move out from the role of friend and be totally in the role of a coach. Yeah? So just to, I had a situation where my daughter required coaching. Initially, I was reluctant because I might be the involved party. However, uh, just so happened that she needed help. So I need to get into my full resources so that when I'm sitting in front of her during coaching, I'm not her father, I'm her coach. So it takes a lot of energy for me as well to move out, to be uninvolved with whatever that she's saying, uninvolved in terms of my involvement as the father, to be totally involved and engaged as the coach. So that requires a tremendous amount of shift in terms of the roles. So if you have the confidence that you are able to make that shift, then you can go ahead. However, what I can say to you, my experience was it was really tough on me. It was really tough to
Yeah,
move
I, I
into that.
I think so. It is tough because when you have a friendship or relationship with someone, you care a lot about the person. So there's some kind of biasness as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Thank you, Bonnie. And next, Deirdre, are you there?
It's me, Mr. Mazuki. How are you? Good evening.
Mark.
So it's Deidre's shift to put the kids to bed. I took a shower for the kids and got them ready. Yeah.
Okay.
Very interestingly, I like you. I managed to catch a few of your points at the last, especially being in the present. Yeah, it's really difficult as a coach to be in the present, especially when something you've been doing all your life, and you tend to bring out a lot of your past experience, especially when dealing with my charges and with my swimmers. So I'm also learning to be able to understand, see where they're coming from, to be in the present, because a lot of the times I tend to use a lot of my past experience and my past knowledge as a tool to help them. But sometimes I feel like not everybody wants the same goal as me before, and various different points of purpose being in the pool. So I think that's something which I can practice moving forward. Hopefully, a little bit more. I would say a little bit more. What's that word? Maybe presence, a little bit more
Mhm.
understanding. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that in your case, Mark, in your situation, you need to play two roles because with all the experience that you have in that particular area, your role as a mentor is equally valuable. So for you to be able to notice when to take on the role of the mentor and when to take the role of the coach. So that is the I would say the fine line that you need to learn that uh, uh, because the way that I see it, for example, being a swimming coach with your experience, the value that you bring as a mentor is high.
Right.
So to be able to dance with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. I'm sorry I don't have my video because I'm in my PJs and I just I came
Yeah.
out to talk.
No worries. No worries.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mazuki.
Yeah. Lovely to have you this evening. So next, Kimi, any comments or questions that you may have before we end?
Not at this point of time. I just talk about meditation just now. That will
Okay.
be my input for tonight.
Right.
Thank you very much for inviting me as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And Dr. Anwar?
I'm okay. I have no question at the moment. Yeah. Very good.
Thank you. And Hashim?
This is a great five elements that I call
Mhm.
that can try to live by this, then it would be more resourceful in asking the right questions at the right moment and from moment to moment.
Okay.
Thank you much.
Thank you, Ashim. And last, of course, not least, Franska.
I remember since few years ago, right, I have difficulty to do the know nothing step because I will put a lot of assumption, especially I know the person well. So towards the years, I keep practice and remind myself. I think now I improving.
Okay.
Still need time to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to affirm that you have improved a lot over the years.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, everyone, I really appreciate your presence this evening. Thank you for being here, and I hope to meet you in the next session. Of course, next week we'll not be meeting on Thursday because next week will be Thaipusam. It's a public holiday, so be public about it. Wonder what that means. So we'll be as far as the coaching, meta coaching sessions that we have, that will be the third week of the month. The next topic will be mirroring as the basic coaching skill. So that's the meta coaching, and right now I can remember the topic for what we are going to cover in the neurosemantic circle. Let me just take a look whether I've got it noted. No, I've not written down what's the topic for that one. The neurosemantic circle will be on the 4th of February. So with that, everyone, thank you very much. Appreciate your being here. So have a good night and have a blessed week ahead. So thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Mr. Basuki.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.